All right.
Okay.
Hello, ladies. Good
Hi.
evening. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. So excited to have you guys. Can you guys hear me? Just want
I
to
can
make
hear you.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So tonight we are going to be starting out with a little talk about mental health and for kids with special needs. I have the beautiful Miss Tyriel Dominick and Miss Antonae McPherson. Thank you guys for joining us. So
Hi.
before we get into the nitty gritty, let's just talk about a little bit about what Unique Families Journey Foundation does. So we are a nonprofit organization who helps our families advocate for their children who are in special needs, families who need understanding of the laws that we have in education, and just learning their children's IEPs and their 504 plans. So we assist a little with that with our families in the Connecticut community. Um, so, ladies, I'm gonna pass the mic over to you guys just to introduce yourselves a little, let the viewers know who you are, what you do. So we can start with Miss Ty Dominic.
Oh, hi. I'm Ty Dominick. I am a master social worker. I have been in social work for the past 10 plus years. For the past 4 years, I've been in schools. That is my passion. Um, Yeah, that's it. When you talk about mental health, it's one of the reasons why I stepped into social work, to be able to break generational curses and to be able to provide tools or to help, especially African American children with the tools to be able to have a successful life and to be able to have emotional wellness.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Next up.
Hi, so my name is Antonae McPherson. So I am actually right now a special education teacher. So I've actually been in the education field for over 7 years. I started out as a general education teacher, but now I am a special education teacher working in the school for 3 years. Um, so personally, mental health to me, I have experience because I am a mom. So I'm a mom of two. So being mentally stable is important. Being mentally stable is important for me, not only just me, but being able to support my kids. So being able to just focus and be in the right state of mind is important to help my kids have a great day. You know what I'm saying? And also the way that I set the mood for my kids being mentally stable is how I can affect my own students, working with them on a day-to-day basis, and how I could support the parents that I work with. um, I work as a special education teacher, like I said, so a lot of the parents that I work with, um, they have a lot of different situations that they deal with their own students, their own children. So being mentally stable, the things that I know and I have gone through, I can share those experiences and experiences that I am learning each and every day. I can help the parents, and that's what I've been doing the past few years.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you also for starting it off with what mental health means to you. So, Miss Dominic, if you would like to share, what does mental health mean to you as a social worker?
What does mental health mean to me? Um, Again, it means breaking generational curses. I think we are conditioned and taught, right, to be strong and to keep going. And it is so important to take care of ourselves and also taught to put other people before ourselves, right? And so it's so important to be able to take care of ourselves first because we can't pour from an empty cup. And so that's what mental health is for me, ensuring that I am taking care of my own mental, spiritual health so that I can be able to show up fully for the people surrounded by me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, ladies. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next question. So if you could like share what your personal experiences are with mental health, it could be personal or it could be personal as in working with the children you work with, or friends, family, anything like that.
Okay. All right, so for me, working as a teacher with special education students, it can vary. Special education students can be students that have disabilities that are academic. It could be students that have things that are physically that are diagnosed with disabilities such as like ADHD or things where they just need support in academics, like being able to support their writing, support in mathematics or ELA. So parents go through so many different situations with their kids, right? So when you're at home, imagine that student that has ADHD and needs support behaviorally, or that student that may be affected by trauma. Um, and as a parent, you need to support that kid day in and day out. But how can you do that? You know, so as a special education teacher, sometimes they really do rely on you. So for personal experience, I have a parent who her child, my first year of teaching, they had both ADHD and they needed support in ELA and mathematics. So education wise, they were very low. So this child, you know, it was a third grade scholar, but still needed support building up from kindergarten level. And they had severe ADHD where it was hard for that scholar to stay still, bounce around. Behaviorally, they were getting in a lot of trouble. And at home, they were exhibiting worse behaviors onto mom. And mom was a single mother. So she used to call and sometimes just express to me, like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm failing as a mom. Like, what can we do moving forward from here? So we provided her programs like assist her and her son. I provided her tips of how she could just mentally prepare herself, like being emotionally stable, taking time out for herself. What are things that we can do for him together in school or out of school, like tokens that we can use to motivate him to make better choices or be more motivated to be want to continue making better academic choices in school. So there's a lot of things that the parents do rely on you as a special education teacher, not only um, for supporting their kids with doing their work, but how can you support them also at home? So that was an opportunity for me and the mom to really connect um, on a higher level, because she not only saw me as her child's teacher, but her kind of like her child's other parent. How else can you help me? Like, what are you doing with him so I can continue these skills at home? So as a special education teacher, it's important to be able to like build strong relationships with your parents, and be able to support the parents to be able to advocate for their child as well. You know, so a lot of different skills go into supporting the parents and how they can build their mental health.
Awesome, awesome. You made me think of something like just to touch on a little bit of my experience also with mental health. So like when my daughter was in high school, I think that was when her mental health problems really started. And I wasn't as educated on mental health as I am now. So I kind of like brushed it under the rug, like, oh, she's fine. But when she got in college is when it became like more serious, where she was having like suicidal thoughts, and she's like away at college, so I have no way to access her. I don't know if she's eating right, I don't know if she's sleeping right, but like I could have built those connections with her high school teacher to like probably prevent whatever she was dealing with in high school happening, right? So it just makes me think about how important like those connections are, and how sometimes our kids are with their teachers more than they're with us, right? So
Mhm.
that is their second parent, you know. They come and visit home, and then they're in school all day. So school is like home. So you just made me think about that. And it's just like, okay, I know other parents could definitely relate and feel that connection with their child's teacher. So I think those relationships are very important as well. Awesome. Thank you for sharing though. Miss Dominic.
Um, so for me, because I am a school social worker and I do support all of our students, when you think about adverse childhood experience and you think about trauma, our kids are going through so much, right? And so I feel like there's such a very thin line between traumatic experiences and mental health, right? One, they're connected. Um, and I also think that mental health is a clear cause of traumatic experiences, right? Is a result of that. And so when you think about that, I think for me, because everybody's in survivor mode, right? When you think about the communities that we work in. So for me, it's important to meet students where they are, right? And not only that, to sit in it with them instead of trying to find a solution immediately, but also help them to work through it. I think, like Miss McPherson, you work with children that are receiving special education services. I also, right, kids that receive IEPs and 50 have IEPs and 504 plans. So when I think about that, and we think about whether a child is qualified for a 504 plan or IEP, I struggle with it sometimes, right? Because when you think about, is a child going to be able to be 100% and come to school if they're dealing with certain things at home? No. So sometimes I don't think that it is a clear indicator of the ability of our students, right? And so I think that for me, I just really want to be clear and make sure that we're meeting students where they are individually.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, how important do you think it is to be like compassionate in mental health?
That is the foundation. The foundation is understanding. The foundation is being able to actively listen. The foundation, I think kids are so truthful. They're so honest. If you literally just listen to their words, I think there's always a power struggle when it comes to teachers or staff and it comes to students. It's like, no, I'm the adult and you're the child. And I think oftentimes we forget that they're human too, right? And they do have a voice. And so for me, I it's important for me to amplify their voices so that they can tell you exactly what they want and exactly what they need. And it's important to listen to that. It's important to have compassion. It's important to understand because they do go through stuff just as we do. They go through things. And so in understanding that, it's important to be able to truly see them.
Absolutely. Okay. Miss McPherson, how how okay. So we're gonna move on to the next question. So you did speak a little bit about 504 plans and IEP. So I just wanted to touch on that because like as an educator and as a member of UFJF, I noticed that a lot of families do lack knowledge in that. So if you guys can like touch on a little bit of what's the difference between a 504 and what's the difference between an IEP, let the viewers know. That would be awesome.
Okay, so I'll start first. Okay, so an IEP is an individualized educational plan, right? So it's under the act of the IDEA. So it's a legally binding document. So this document just certifies that your student, whatever they're lacking in the education department, we're supposed to our our main goal is to support that child wherever level they are and build on them on whatever pace that they are in a timely manner. So, this legally binding document includes goals and objectives, accommodations that are on this are based off the student's specific needs. So, whatever wherever your student is, mathematic wise, um, or reading, writing, and sometimes executive functioning, which means how organized they are. Are they able to time manage? Focus and being able to focus on different skills, like how do they navigate these skills. So the IEP is basically a document that you'll use to be able to progress monitor where your child is. So in the beginning, you'll be able to be tested where your child is academically. So this begins in a process where the general ed teachers will communicate with you if they notice that your scholar is struggling or they need support in certain areas. So whether they're lacking in their writing, they're testing, they're failing certain classes that they should be at a certain level, or they notice throughout the year that the student isn't reaching certain goals that they're supposed to. So in this process, it's obviously communicated with the parent, and we come together as a team. And as a team, we'll come together and build goals and objectives for the students. So it's a team that includes the general ed teacher, a special education representative, a special education teacher, the social worker, and special representatives if the student needs. So if they need like physical therapy, OT, out of school social worker. So we all collaborate together and decide what is the best thing, and also the parents. Sorry, what is the best thing for the student regarding their goals. So we collaborate together. We decide what does the student need. How can we help them? Um, be successful in the classroom. What accommodations do they need? Do they need things where they need to be more organized, preferential seating, chunking of their word banks, or certain visuals that'll help them in the classroom? And we come together and we create this document, and it's done in a timely manner where after the meeting, where whatever we come to the conclusion of the goals and objectives for that student, it's done in a yearly process. So it's done right away. In 5 days it's implemented, and then your students begins to receive hours, and they'll work in a resource room or along with a special education teacher. And then yearly we update. It's called an annual review, where you update how your students been, how your child's been doing. Are they making progress? If they haven't, is there some things that we need to change? Or and you don't ever have to wait till the full year to be able to have something called a PPT meeting where you guys collaborate and come together. If you feel like your child is not making any progress, and you feel like the IEP goals that you have put together is not making any effort, improvement, you can come together and um, call on a meeting where you guys can discuss what changes can be made, what can we do to support that child better. And it's important for a parent to know their rights. If you feel like your child, even though your general education teacher has not made the recommendation, you can always call a PPT. So if you feel like, okay, I noticed they're struggling at home with reading, or you notice that their grades are failing, and as much support that the teacher's providing, you're providing at home isn't making much of an impact, you always have the right as a parent to call on a PPT meeting to get your child tested to see if maybe they do qualify for an IEP.
For a parent to take the further steps to get a PPT meeting set up, like what do they need to do?
So you will connect with the classroom teacher. It's called the general education teacher, and they'll reach out to the special education teacher, which will reach out to the state board. So what that does, like my representative, she will reach out to the state and they will set a date for a meeting. So all you have to do is tell your child's teacher that you want to request for an IEP and you're mandated to have one.
Okay, it sounds like a simple process.
Yes, it's simple.
So, Miss Dominic, if you can touch on a little bit of what a 504 plan is, and let the viewers know that would be.
So a 504 plan is a very similar document, right? However, in my experience, it's been more geared toward behavior. Like if a child is experiencing certain behaviors in the classroom, how can we accommodate this student in hopes that we can mitigate the behaviors that are happening. Oftentimes, some of these students are very high, right, academically, but the behaviors are interfering with their progress academically. And so that's where I come in as an interventionist, as the social worker, to be able to provide coping skills, to be able to provide social skills, to be able to, if it, let's say the child needs a check-in and a checkout system every day, let's say the child needs a behavior chart, a reward system, that's where I would come in and collaborate with the teacher to be able to help the student to be successful. So a 504 plan, I would say, is like a step under an IEP, just because IEPs is an individualized education plan. A 504 plan, for the most part, is geared toward behaviors. And that's what I would say the difference is.
Okay, so it sounds like a 504 plan is like a helping hand, where the IEP is like the toolbox of support, right? So it does go hand in hand. So you guys
Yes.
also explained the differences, but are there any similarities between the IEP and the 504?
Yes.
There are similarities because there can be children who have behaviors who start off with a 504. You can't have both. So let's also
Mhm.
let's state that
Mhm.
you can't have a
Mhm.
504 and an IEP. So
Mhm.
if behaviorally you're struggling, but then academically you're also struggling, you are more geared toward an IEP. And then what we do is we build something called executive functioning goals that are used in replace of the 504 that you'll work on with your special education teacher to be implemented to support you also behaviorally. So those same goals that you have on your 504 will similarly be related to the IEP as an executive functioning goal that'll be geared towards behavior, and then you'll also have your academics.
Okay. And then, okay, so you can't have both.
You
Oh.
can't have both. It's one or the other. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about some tips. Like, what tips can you provide the viewers on who are like seeking help to maybe help their kid with anxiety, or maybe their kid is struggling at home and they're doing well in school? Like, what tips can you guys provide?
I'll go first. Therapy is important. Therapy is important.
Yeah.
Therapy is important. It's specifically important for younger children to be able to have a space, safe space. All children to be able to have a safe space. Therapy is also important for parents. We don't have it all figured out. You don't have it all figured out. It doesn't come with a rule book. We have our own things that and experiences that we're dealing with, so it's important to be able to heal so that we can be able to provide our kids with the tools to be successful. um Asking questions, ask your children, talk to your children, to make sure that you are in the loop of what's happening with them. Talk to their teachers, collaborate with their teachers. It takes a village, and we're all on the same team. And so reaching out to the people that are excuse me, responsible for your scholars every day is so so important. What other tips? Yeah, it's gonna always be therapy for me. It's so often overlooked and misunderstood. And so I think it's important for people to at least look into it, to at least try it. You don't know what'll work if you never try it. And so therapy is gonna always be the response for me.
Okay. Miss
Okay.
McPherson.
Right. So for me, I will piggyback off what Ty said to reach out to people who can support you the most with your child. Whether it's their physician, whether it's their teachers, mentors, whatever you can use to be able to build and take coping strategies from others that you can use at home to support you as well. Understanding what the trigger is from for your child, like what
Yes.
exactly is causing the problem. Like once you understand their trigger or what sets them off or what may be the struggle, that'll be you'll be able to betterly support them from support with others. Ensuring a safe environment, maybe the environment that they're around. How can we change something? Can we improve it? What
Yes.
is it around them that might be, setting them off? What is it? Um, and just how you respond to your child is important as well, right? So staying calm, modeling positive behavior. Like as
Yeah.
a teacher, you're consistently
Yeah.
you're
Yes.
modeling behaviors that you expect from your students. So I would always recommend to the parents, whatever behavior you want to model for your child, make sure it's positive, make sure it's calm. If you're calm, you're setting the tone for them to be calm as well. When you react out of anger, you can only expect for them to react out of anger as well. But reaching out to people who can support you, just ensuring that they have a positive environment, and how you just react to your child, is important as well. So just thinking about these different things of like, where is this coming from? What is the trigger? How can I support them rather than making this affect my mental health, having this affect my mental health. Like that's how I see how that can connect, because can see how mental health can be affected by a lot of parents that don't know what to do in certain situations.
Mhm.
They don't know who to
Mhm.
reach out to. They don't know how to
Mhm.
make a change, or they feel burnt out, or it's causing them
Mhm.
anxiety and depression. Um, but using a few of those strategies may make an impact for a lot of people.
I love that you guys touched on therapy because for me also, like I was one of those parents who was like, okay, why is she responding this way? My daughter would be emotional and I would just be like mad. Like, why are you so emotional for? Like, stop being emotional. And not really understanding her until I had to get therapy myself and understand my trauma and my triggers. And honestly, the therapy helped me so much that it helped me become a better parent, right? And it helped me understand what my daughter was going through. It helped me understand her feelings and her different emotions and her mood swings and kind of like just responding in a positive approach, right? Without getting upset. So I applaud myself on that because I've come a long way, right? A little bit of patience, a little bit of growth. And like now my daughter is at the age where like she's able to go get her own therapy. Like she recognizes when, okay, I'm having so much anxiety, school is stressful, I need to go to therapy. And I love that she's doing that for herself because there was a time when she was just like, not do that, right? It was a time where she didn't want to speak about the problems she was having, especially being in special education and not understanding why she's in special education and just the differences between her and her friends, right? But I always explain to her, like, you're just different. That's it. Your brain works differently, you learn differently, and that is okay. So I think that's also important to let our children know, right? Like just because you're in special education doesn't mean you're like mentally challenged. Because I think sometimes there's like a stigma behind it, and it's like these kids are labeled, but it's like you're really just your brain works differently. That's all. Like that's why it's called special education. But I love that you guys actually touched on that, and it just made me think about the more work that I need to do as a mom and as an educator with the children I gotta come in contact with as well. Um, Yes, this was so good. Wow. I feel like you know,
Yeah.
because it's just some things that people are not comfortable speaking with, or
I love that you said
people
that.
don't have the, knowledge. They're
Yeah,
just quiet, but sometimes you have to speak up. You have to ask the
absolutely.
questions, right? To get the right answers, to get the help that we need. So this is so good. And I'm glad that you guys are doing the work that you do in the school that you're in and working with all the children who need you because they need you, right? They definitely need us. I would say that. Um, all right. So we are going to wrap up. I want to thank you, ladies, again for taking the time to share all your knowledge and experiences. I'm so happy to have you guys on. We definitely love to do a part two. That would be actually really dope on another topic, though. But I
I'm
just
here for it.
and for being here and
No problem.
yes, so
Yes.
so grateful.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we are going to wrap it up. If anybody needs any tips or advice or looking for support, feel free to reach out to Unique Family Journeys Foundation. We are here to help. We are here to support, and we are here to advocate for you and your children. All right, ladies. Thank you again. Have a good night.
Uh,
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.